button, Charles. Let me know.
Okay.
Are we on, Charles?
Not yet. You're not live yet.
It's not on yet. It's on. I
You
see it.
sure? I
Yeah,
don't see
it's
it.
positive.
Hold on.
You see it?
Hold on. Okay. Hold
Okay,
on.
if you guys can go ahead and like and share. Everybody was tagged in it, but if you guys can go ahead and like and share and add it on your platforms.
How we do that with the on the phone? And you know I'm new to this. How we do that while I'm on the phone?
You know what? Go. Hey, Nicole. Why don't you go to her page? When you see it, just push share at the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to get out of. I have to go out of here then.
No. No, oh.
If you gotta go out, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Don't. Oh. Yeah. Don't go out.
She's driving.
Yeah,
She's
if you gotta
driving.
go out, don't worry about it.
Well, she can still
Okay.
come back in. If she just all she gotta do is she can come back in. She'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still heard y'all when I clicked over though.
Okay. You were able to do it?
I clicked back. I think I can.
Okay.
I think I can. Let me see.
I mean, if you can't, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I got it. Yep. I could do it. Can y'all still hear me?
Yep, we hear
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. See, I'm on Facebook.
Okay. All right. Good deal. All right, everybody. Good evening. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Super excited to have everybody on the panel tonight. We have an all-star cast. Everybody, thank you for your time hopping on with us. I know everybody has incredibly busy schedules, especially during the week, but we really appreciate you guys coming on with us to have yet another interesting dialogue on tonight. So thank you guys so much for your time and attention. Before we get started with the introductions, we're going to have CC to please, Pastor CC to please go ahead and lead us in prayer for tonight. Can you please do the honors for us, Ladybug?
Yes, ma'am. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this moment of sharing and the opportunity to glean from the wisdom of these, your panelists. God, we thank you for Precious giving us this platform to share our thoughts, to lead your people, to encourage rightness in the land. God, we ask that you order our steps and our words, govern our spirits, so that we can be on one accord and share what is necessary to help your people in this time. God, we thank you for those who will be listening, those who have input, and let our feedback be positive and influential. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Again, everybody, welcome to the chat tonight. I'm going to go ahead and do some quick introductions so we can get right into the meat and potatoes tonight. We have the usual suspects in the building. We got Bruce Almighty. Bruce, say hello to the people.
Hello, people.
We also have the awesome, dynamic Pastor CC in the building with us this evening. First Lady, holla.
Good evening, everybody. Love you much.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got Trey Ford, a.k.a. the television man. I didn't even know you was on film like that till today, Trey. Welcome.
The television man? I'm fake famous. Fake famous.
Right, fake famous. Fake famous. I love it. I love it. We also have my girl in the building, who the postest with the mostest, Miss Nicole, aka Sugar Williams. Nicole, welcome.
Hey. Hi, everybody.
Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. And last but certainly not least, the first time on the hot seat, Mr. A.D. Roberts himself, superstar author. Mr. Roberts, say hello to the people.
Hello, everybody. Let's do what we do. I'm ready and fired up.
Duval.
Okay.
Yes.
There would be no me without my honored co-host. Truly excited to have him in the building with us again. He over there in Chicago just got freed from jail again, Mr. Dixon.
Yes.
All right.
They always catching him on the drive-by. He's driving by.
Yeah.
Mr. Dixon from Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio, nationally syndicated radio show. Mr. Dixon, welcome. Thank you for your time, sir. We appreciate you hosting with us. Thank you, sir.
It's good to be here tonight.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right, well, we're going to get crunk, you guys. This week's episode is really going to be interesting. And you guys, I mean, we're going to yield the floor to you guys. I know you guys have really been thinking about this particular topic, and it is a very sticky and sensitive one. Love and the family ties. Can our family's opinion make or break our love? Can they destroy what we have built up with someone simply by their opinions, their thoughts, their ideas, and their power over us, if you will, for lack of a better word? But can the family ties do damage that can really destroy what we're building up with someone? So what happened was, the way that this show ended up being birthed was just a real quick drop back story. What I do now, I'm in a field where I interact with a lot of people from all different walks of life on a regular basis, and we have to have some intimate conversations because of what I do for a living. And so this particular day, about 2 weeks ago, a young lady came into my office, and we started talking about family and things like that. And so she shared with me an interesting story that kind of prompted me to go ahead and knock this show out. She said to me that she had met this guy. She was intrigued by the guy, loved the guy, super excited about this young man being in her life. Everything was going really, really well, and they decided to go ahead and put the family into the equation. They were getting really, really serious and heavy into their relationship, and they said, hey, let's go ahead and knock the family component out. Let's meet the family and keep it moving, because we're ready to go ahead and move on to the next level. Well, his family was very receptive of her, but her family did not have the same affection. And
Wow.
what ended up happening was her mom and dad decided to have a conversation independent of her, and basically told her that the boy was not good enough for her, and his
Wow.
former life and his family were not people that they wanted to be tied to.
Wow.
Fast forward now, this lady is almost 40 years old. Now, this was really deep because I was
Ooh.
tripping off of this, right? Fast forward,
Boy.
the guy, this happened when she was about, she said she's about 32, maybe 33. Fast forward, the guy married somebody else, built an incredible family, his faith, family, fitness, finances, everything intact, and doing
Wow.
exceptionally well, and she never found anybody else. And
I,
in my brain, while she was talking, I was like, love and the family ties. Ooh, and the thought in my head was like, everybody goes off this statement, blood is thicker than water, but what happens when the water washes the blood away?
yep.
And that's what prompted me to actually do this show tonight. Let's go ahead and start with AD. AD, since you knew, we're going to go ahead and get you in this deep water and go ahead and just baptize you.
I'm with all of that. I'm with all of it. You know, we can be transparent on this, can't we?
Absolutely. Go ahead and
Yes.
put it on out there. Put it on out there.
Okay. I have been in this situation. I've been in this situation personally where somebody that I was dating, my mother wasn't feeling the situation. Okay. And I had this favorite aunt that I would always go to, and she gave me the absolute best advice that anybody that's in this situation could have. She said to me, she said, baby, if you do what your mother asks you to do, that means you are living your life for her. Now, if you live your life for your mother, and if in the natural order of things, the natural order of things happens, and unfortunately, if she passes and she's gone on, but you lived your life for her and according to her, once she's gone, who then will you live your life for? And when she said that, when my aunt told me that, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I needed to be my own man, my own person, make my own decisions, whether I was right, wrong, whether she was right or wrong. You know, you can't tell people what to do with love. You can't tell what people to do with their hearts. You know, that's one of the worst decisions that you can do. So I followed my heart and did what I needed to do, and loved every minute of it.
All right, on tonight, my Lord. That's good stuff. What are you gonna live
But
for?
you know, it's real talk, because at the end of the day, you know, we all have to be accountable for our own selves and our own lives.
Yeah.
And if
Absolutely.
if we're not accountable to ourselves, then we can't live for other people. We can't live for other people's happiness. We can't live for their pain and their stress.
Mm.
Everything is about you and what makes you happy, and that's where you got to have. Some brothers and some sisters just got to have the nerve and the balls to live their life. You know,
Mhm.
and be true to themselves.
Mm.
Absolutely. No doubt. CC, I see your wheel spinning over there.
Well, I am big on keeping family out of relationships because if the relationship blossoms to a point of marriage and there are family members who don't agree already, I tell people in counseling that the most important part of your marital vows is for forsaking all others. And that has to be a common practice before you actually come down the aisle. So even in dating, I don't encourage people to get their family members involved because you're not dating this person. And most adults have lived a life away from their families for a significant amount of time. Once you hit like that 30 age bracket and above, your family really doesn't know you like they once knew you. I
Right.
remember
Mm.
one time I had to check my mom and tell her, I was like, hold up. I've been out your house 20 years. You don't even know my favorite color. And
Mm.
she was
Wow.
like, well, I'm just trying to tell you. I said, I love you, but your opinion doesn't matter in my house.
Mm.
And I had to check her because I love her, number one. And number two, I had to establish some boundaries before she even met someone who I was interested in because I didn't want her to even bring that to the table. Don't come in here acting like you running nothing. And I love my mom. My mom and I have a healthy, great relationship. But as an
Mhm.
adult, you have to set the line of demarcation so that people don't even come up with that. Well, I'm your mama. Well, yeah, but this is my house or this is my
Amen.
relationship. This is my choice. And even if it's a bad choice, let me have that experience. I don't need you to baby me, pamper me, and protect me. Let me have the default because even a broken relationship you can learn something from. Even
Mm.
if it
Absolutely.
doesn't work out, the opinion of a third party could be traumatizing because then you got to deal with, mama, you was right. No, I don't need to say that. I really need to
Right.
go through this on my own and say, you know what? I had the privilege of the experience and I've learned a lesson. So now I can get to another class.
That's good.
Mm.
Trey, go ahead
Yes,
and
That
go
ma'am.
ahead and speak on it. Mr. Fake Famous, go ahead and speak on it.
Well, pretty much everybody already hit it on the head. That you have to divorce yourself from the opinions of others, others including your family or friends. And I thought it was interesting that Pastor CC said, by the time you've hit a certain age, you're not even the same exact person that they remember when you were 12 or 10 or 9 or 4.
Right.
And so their opinions have a certain frame and a certain perspective, uh, which could make it inaccurate. And
Mhm.
so they're seeing it from a certain vantage point, which may not have them see the full picture, and so they're giving you advice, or they're making judgments, or whatever the case is, based on an incomplete picture. And whenever a picture is incomplete, they're going to fill it in with what they think is going on. So
Mm.
incomplete and inaccurate, right? And so to make an analogy, if you're going to build something, you never want an incomplete, inaccurate blueprint.
Right.
And an incomplete, inaccurate blueprint, that's other people's opinions.
Mm,
Yes,
that's
sir.
good.
Mm.
Mr. Bruce, talk to us.
This one is really deep, coffee.
Mm.
I'm kind of on the fence, Charles. I'm on the fence with this one because I'm gonna work it out. I'm gonna work it out as we talk. But
All right.
like coming out the gate, we come from a belief system that teaches that you leave the culture of your mother and your father,
Hmm.
and you cleave to your wife,
Right.
and then y'all attempt to become one and create your own culture that one day your kids are gonna have to leave from.
Mm.
So that's what I'm feeling on one side. On the other side, looking at the evidence of families of people who look like us,
Hmm.
a lot of our choices that produced fruit of us not having families comes from, a lot of it, in my humble opinion, comes from much of the trauma and experiences that we had from our childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Many of that coming from our families of origin. On the other hand, I got three hands. On the other hand, we also come from a tradition or traditions that we are not fully aware of, in which families did help make these decisions.
Right.
Of who the daughter married or who the son married, either by setting it up themselves or they were considered elders in the situation. And there was much discussion before the two people start getting busy. Start baking cookies, you know what I'm saying? Before they got married.
I'm baking cookies, my Lord.
So before, so that's why I'm on the fence, because we as a people, we have been taught. Charles, I'm on the Malcolm thing this week, Charles. I'm gonna get it together by the weekend. This is where I'm at.
Yeah, all right.
We have been taught to think independently of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes from trauma.
Right.
So again, a lot of our decisions are based on trauma. So do we actually say that, look, mom, dad, your opinion does not matter. I'm grown now. Hasn't that been part of the challenges that we have had in becoming a race of people that have strong families?
I think AD said it kind of put it into context when we opened up in a part of what you're saying. He put a part of that into context when he was talking about how he went to the aunt who still represented the family tie. So it wasn't that he kind of totally negated, what mom said, but he got the perspective in a broader light. I think some of the light can be a little narrow depending on who the voice is, because some of the voices are not voices of reason, if you will. So a lot of the voices are selective and opinionated, not necessarily for the best interest of the big picture. So I think that the big picture thinking is what would be the catalyst for that strong bond to stay intact, and to not negate the family opinion, but to embrace it, make it applicable where it needs to be in context, though. You understand what I'm saying? So instead of saying, oh, well, I just don't, well, you know what? I don't care what you say. No, we do care. We definitely care, but it has to be contextual. I think that's the part that needs to be handled. And it's a delicate balance with this family thing, because we definitely
And that's the word.
Yeah, it's a very delicate balance, because here's what we don't want to do. You don't want to eliminate the family, because guess what? If something happens with you and that person, guess who you're going back to? The family. So you don't want to burn the bridge and not have a boat to roll back to. You did.
Well, and see that goes with the cultural development too, because like Bruce pointed out, our culture, people of color, we have gotten away from the true transitional moment from being single to being married, because we don't do that anymore. The family nowadays who has, and it goes back to context like you were saying, the family nowadays who has such a high opinion really is not in a posture to share the wisdom of the yes or no, because if I get in trouble, number one, I can't come back to your house. Or if the relationship goes sour, you're not the number one support system in every case. There are a lot of us, like I live here in Florida, in Jacksonville, but my support system is not my blood relatives. So the high opinion, if you are culturally able to share the wisdom of the yes or no, or maybe wait, then fine. But if there's no cultural wisdom and no support in the event, and I'm not just even talking about from a female perspective, I'm also looking at the man, because has the man been groomed with the legacy and the inheritance of his bloodline to nurture a new, healthy, long-lasting, lifelong relationship for, marriage in the preparation period. Relationships now are such drive-by encounters till the culture that we came from does not have the fervence of good teaching to have an opinion.
Mm.
I really hope that what I share with my daughters and what I'm living in front of them is what they can take as a tool to go into good, healthy relationships.
Right.
However, I'm not gonna jump all over them with my opinion. Well, no, he ain't good enough. Their analogy of what's good enough is actually gonna be developed from what they're in now.
Mm.
The type of lifestyles that we give
Absolutely.
going up from
Yes.
childhood to adulthood, even the millennial age. You can't have influence at age 30 when you didn't have influence at age 15.
True. True.
And our cultural diversity has been interracially mixed with the cultures of other people, which now has put us in this place where the haughtiness of an opinion from a parent or a relative is negated because we ain't listening to them no way. So why should I listen to you now? We need to get back to giving them the wisdom of our culture so that they will listen, so that we can have influence, so that they can say, hey, mom, this is my new quote unquote boyfriend. I want you to meet him and I need your approval. And the
Right.
family should be
Right.
strong enough to not just
Right.
address the family member that brought them, but to sit down with that man or that woman in the room who's being introduced to the family and say, hey, listen, this is who we are and this is what we've observed to be you. It's not a one-time introduction. It actually should be
It's
a
a series.
diversity of
Right.
interactions.
Right.
How do you act in public? How do you act at dinner time? I broke up with a guy because he chews with his mouth open.
My
Because in
Lord.
my
My
family,
Lord.
that is horrible. I really couldn't take it because my nerves were bad, and my mom didn't say anything because we had the other encounter. And she said I wasn't gonna say nothing, but baby, I knew he wasn't gonna make it. But it's beautiful things. So can our families be merged with the wisdom of both families? And there be some kind of reason that this is who we are, we see who you are. Can we make this one?
That's good stuff.
Yeah,
Nicole,
I-
Nicole, we haven't had a chance to hear from you yet. Nicole, share with us on tonight your thoughts about where we are thus far in the family ties.
Well, I feel like between the ages of like maybe 18 to 29, your family can kind of influence, have some influence on, your relationship because you're still kind of young and you still at that age kind of look to them for guidance. But I think any age after that, you need to make your own decisions by then. I mean, I have to think about it as far as like me now. I'm in my 40s. And if I meet somebody's family and they don't like me, I'm in my 40s. I'm kind of like set in my ways in a sense. There's always room to grow, but I'm not going to really change as much. So if they don't like me at this age, I can't, I can't be like, oh, well, I guess we can't date anymore because your family doesn't like me. That would be their problem at that point. Because I'm not going to go to them for any kind of, guidance or looking, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm 40. I'm 46, to be exact. So I'm not, it really wouldn't make a difference to me if somebody didn't like, so I brought home somebody and they didn't like them. I'm 46. It's too late. So I'm saying like it's too late for that. Too late. But if I was like 26, yeah, that's a big that's different. I think your family should have some influence, but I think you should make your own decisions. Unless they're like abusive or crazy. But other than that, I don't think you should. I don't think that it should matter after a certain age. That's all I'm saying. But when you're younger, it should matter because you're more,
So the
you're like more family. You probably go to your family more. You're doing more with your family at that age. As you get older, it kind of slows down. Kind of slows down. So you don't do as much with your family as you would as when you were younger. That's
Right.
how I feel.
Right.
I just don't think that I would
Yeah.
let somebody influence I relate. Like everybody in my family, and it depends on their track record. Like, not everybody in your family has a good track record of giving good advice or making those kind of decisions or having being perceptive of people. So, that also plays a part of it too.
Absolutely.
So it would all depend. It would all depend on who didn't or who had this big, problem with the person. That would make a difference to me. I would have to ask them questions like, "What's the problem? Like, what do you don't like? What do you see? What am I not seeing?" I would have to dive a little deeper than to just be like, "Oh, I don't think they're good enough for you." That's not good enough for me.
Mr. Dixon, before we go any further, Mr. Dixon, can you interject and shed some light on the darkness of the Family Time Ministries? What's going on?
Well, listen. So listening to everybody, little pieces come to mind. It definitely was a delicate situation for me. So I had the African American family piece on one hand. I had the culture of a religious upbringing. That's another part. And then you had the family dynamic, period. So for me, coming up, as long as I can remember, my father and my brother. So it was 6 of us. So it's 4 girls, 2 boys. I'm the youngest. My brother's the oldest. My brother, he has never, like, if I ever went on a date or introduced somebody, he just took them at face value as hi, she cute, she's whatever. He gonna joke about it in the background. That's it. My dad, same way. But my mother and my mother and my sisters, the first question, and it's unfortunately, it is still true to this day. If I were to say, hey, this person X is coming to so and so, this is really serious, and this is what we're going to do, the first question they're going to ask me is they saved till to this day. I'm well into the 40s, and to this day, it's the same thing. And so I remember years ago, I was very much programmed by it. I was like, it was just how I was raised, and you were kind of taught this is what you need to do. You need to look for this kind of person, have this kind of equal yoke, and that's it. And you just program. It's not until it was kind of like God moved me into a whole nother region, so I was separated on purpose until my mind began to deprogram and to think for myself. But I remember this one instance when I was back home, and I was dealing with somebody who at that time I was in a significant relationship in terms of time with. And so as far as I can remember, the person never offended this particular family member of mine in any kind of way. But I remember Thanksgiving, it was Thanksgiving, and I was driving, and I called myself picking a person up and about to head to this person's group house where the family was. And so I remember them calling me saying, hey, where you at? I said, I'm on the expressway. You on your way? I said, yep. And so then they said, oh, who you got coming with you? I said, person X. Oh, well, they not welcome. I said, well, guess what? I see y'all next year. I ain't go. So the point was I didn't go. But guess what? After that instant, I never had that problem again with that person. But at that time, they thought that their opinion, at that time to me was very judgmental, at that time was going to make me say, oh, I'm going to turn around and take you home because the Lord said so. No. I said, I'm going somewhere else, and that's that. And so until that time, from that time, and like I said, my mother's passed away. My mom did say years ago when I was engaged once, she only gave me one piece of advice, and she didn't take it from the religious aspect. She said to me, she said, hey, this person is very nice. I like how they take care of their son. They seem to be really clean, all those things. She said, the only thing I will tell you as your mother, she said, I'm going to leave the church part out of it because she said, you already know how I feel on that. But she said, the person is very possessive. So she said, I want you to know that how they are now is likely going to be the way they are when you marry them. And she said, as your mom, I just want to tell you that. So you make your own informed decision. Now, of course, all the weight and influence she had on me, I guess she knew I wasn't going to go through after hearing that. I said, all right. She was right. She was really right because when I looked at the relationship as it was, she was truthful. And so, but going forward, I've had to literally break away and just make my own decisions and redirect things back to my family with not with an option of saying do you like them? It was more or less, this is my girlfriend. How you doing? Meet her. We'll see you later, or we'll be over there, and that's it. I kind of took the power out of that dynamic. That's how I was able to do it.
AD, talk to us.
Well, you said a word, and I love it, and I use the word all the time. It's called balance. I have two daughters, so we kind of shake this up a little bit from a
Right.
different perspective. I have two daughters. One's 20, one's 21, and they're both off in college. One's a senior, one's a junior, and they are dating two best friends.
Mm.
Um, culturally, my children were raised in a Jamaican household, so to speak.
Wow.
And the young men, they are Jamaican too. And one of the things that I learned, especially bringing from my personal situation from my aunt, when you enter into this type of situation with your own children, I recommend that you do so gently, especially with your daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Never, you can be opinionated or whatever, but sometimes you have to keep those opinions, those strong stuff, unless they're in danger and harm and stuff like that. Then yes, of course, speak to your daughters. But if it's just if they're just dating, sometimes, and I learned this from another friend of mine that had daughters that's older than me. Don't take it too serious, because if you raise your daughters right,
Right.
if they're accustomed to me as their dad opening their door, if
Mm-hmm.
they're accustomed to dad being charming and loving and caring and all of that, so they're accustomed to being treated well by a male. They know what
Right.
male love feels like. If you do those things when they're young and them boys get to cutting up and acting the fool, guess what those daughters are gonna do? They're gonna sayonara on themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You don't have to always put your opinion out there. Sometimes just be kind. Sometimes just be nice, and listen to your daughters. Listen to your children, because sometimes you can be so opinionated and so strong-willed that you try to tell them how to live their lives and they rebel, and then when things go wrong, because somebody mentioned this, when things go wrong and you come back, they want to come back home, or they need to come back home. Sometimes they don't, because their ego won't allow them, because
Right.
you hurt their feelings. You put them in a place where you were right and they were wrong, and they
Right.
don't want to have to deal with that. So my approach is never to make my daughters feel like I'm the know everything.
Right.
No, I'm the I love you through anything. That's who I am. That's the
Good.
Mm-hmm.
dad I'm in. So
That's good.
if you make the right decision or the wrong decision, you
Right.
can always call dad.
Right.
I'm here
Right. Good.
all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
and so what happens when you have them situations where a parent says, "Oh, they're not welcome in my house," because I've been there. I've dealt with
Right.
that situation
Right.
before.
Right. Right.
You know, or you parents can be a trip,
Right.
and it never changes. I don't care how old you get, because you always they
Right.
kids, you know.
Right.
But if we have that balance and we enter into it with love, we raise them, and I think Pastor said it right. You can't come in if you wasn't doing it at 15, you can't do it at 26. You
Right.
can't. If your opinion didn't matter at 15, it's not gonna matter when they're much older.
Right.
So if you raise the child up right, if you love them, and you know that they know that you embrace who they are, and you trust their judgment, and you say that to them, I trust your judgment. I'm gonna
Right.
let you make the final decision, but I'm
Right.
always here for you, baby, whenever you need me. If anything go wrong, if it go right, I'm right there with you. That's
That's
just
good
my
stuff.
take on it.
That's
That's good
good.
stuff.
That's good. That's good. Right. I
That's
have a
good.
question
Yep.
for you. We heard AD just talk about the daughters concept. But you as a guy, you being a married man now, how was the influence in the opposite dynamic from the mom to the son in your household when it came to your influences for relationships?
You talking to me?
Probably
Oh,
little
okay.
to. What was that?
No, I
Oh,
was just telling
probably
him. I was telling him to reverse what you just said, AD,
the
and
reverse.
talk
Yeah,
about it from the son
Got
versus the mom perspective.
probably little to none. Because just because of I think the dynamic between myself and my parents. So I've always been pretty independent and free thinking. My sister and I are opposites as far as extrovert and introvert. So just I think that aspect of me kind of had me learning by doing. So you know, and they were good with that, and I think that they were I think that they were confident enough in the way that they raised me that I would get it right eventually. Even if I wasn't getting it right for a long time. So
Right.
and I'm still probably messing up, yeah, I think that and I think that I use almost the same approach to parenting as well, even though I have two daughters as well. So, but I do like to, you know, my daughters are young, so you know, but the one that's older is very exploratory, and so we like to try and as much as possible, you know, use her own judgments, make those mistakes, and then reap those consequences because they're real. You know, instead of being like a helicopter. I think that a lot of people learn better that way. Um, and I think having it that way early on may circumvent bad decisions later on because they're learning how to process and problem solve and critically think, and you know they're learning about sowing and reaping and all that type of thing. But I did want to make a comment. So the picture on the flyer says, should opinions of other people break your love for them though? So we talking about, like, we went heavy. It was interesting that we went heavy relationship mode in it, but my answer to that question is no, it shouldn't. I guess it depends on how intense the opinion is, or like what the subject matter is for the opinion. But opinions are feedback. You know what I mean? So it shouldn't. The opinion might be diametrically opposed to yours, but as far as it breaking your love, I think on one side or the other, somebody's gotten offended and gotten out of that delicate balance and gotten out of that because love is an action word. You know what I mean? So. You know, we could be playing, you know, and we're, as a culture, we're intense too. So the opinion could be on whether I reneged or not in a spades game, and we getting getting hype on it. You know what I mean? So but that opinion should never cut the love off. I don't think that there's any opinion. Well, there probably is one out there, but not that comes to mind for me where the love is shut off, no matter what the relationship is, family or friend.
That's good.
I had an experience with that though.
Okay. Go ahead, Cece. I'm gonna get Bruce after you. But the question that he asked, I was getting ready to go to the Q. We were going to the Q&A part about that component to really answer the question: can somebody else's opinion in the family make or break your love? Cece, go ahead with that.
We had a encounter in our family, whereas my opinion about who my son was with was a little different from that of my mom. My mom was aggressively against who my son was seeing. And I mean to a point that those two, the young lady and my mom, got into a verbal argument over something really petty, really petty. Vinny called me. We talked about it. And he asked me how did I feel. I said, Vincent, this is my only concern. I like the young lady. And to this day, I still like her. However, someone who can be on the other side of the table, disrespectful to an elder in this family, actually does not fit the order of your teaching. So my mom's high opinion literally drove a wedge in their love. I saw them in love. I saw them how they dated for a year. I saw how the relationship was budding. Now the young lady had a high expectation of marriage. And that's because in our family, most of our family members don't do the unnecessary dating thing. We don't date without a purpose. So my son has developed that same liking, but my mom literally drove a wedge between them because what made the relationship end was that they got into such an intense argument that Vincent said, Mom, I just think that they're never going to get along, so it would be better that I find someone else. And I told him, I said, son, I really hate to hear that, but I want you to follow your heart, not my opinion, not your grandmother's. And because he lives in her house and I'm here, I have influence on him, but at the same time, I teach him to be a free thinker. Vincent actually broke up with the young lady. And in my opinion, I can't say that that was the best thing to do, But it was the thing that happened because of what we were talking about just now, that high volume opinion that drives a wedge in the love. It got to a point that he didn't want to deal with the drama with them no
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. Wow.
And the statement was made, why couldn't I be with you so this could have went another way? And I said, son, we count up the costs and we count the losses. If you can count your losses and be okay with it, let it go. When he let it go, he actually felt better because there was no more stress and strife. But I did say something to my mom. I said, Mom, you really probably shouldn't have said nothing. Well, Carrie, you got to understand. I said, no, he's 33. She was still looking at him through the eyes of a grandmother looking at a teenager.
Right. The lenses of a child.
When it hit her that she was trying to live vicariously through him the moment she missed by, having that high volume opinion. So the wedge that she put in there, she actually, on her side, she regretted it. And I said, it's too late. And it was actually too late because now there's division among the family members over there.
Wow.
I still like the girl. I even wished her happy Mother's Day. I talked to her for her birthday, which was in April. But I don't have the kind of conversation with her that encourages her to go back reaching. I don't have the kind of conversation that encourages my son to reach. I still want him to have his own thoughts, his own desire, his own drive, and let God be God in this matter. My mom, I said, Mom, you put on your God hat and you actually messed up something that I think could have worked. So my dad was like, Carolyn, you shouldn't have said nothing. And my stepmom and my stepdad was like, well, Vincent was raised by you, so he's going to choose rightly. But I still say that, in my opinion, looking at it from the outside, if she'd have just held her opinion to a lower level, maybe between other family members, but not so aggressively towards this young lady.
Right, towards the girl, yeah.
It would not have happened. It wouldn't have happened.
Wow. Bruce, so with that, with what Cece just said, it brings me to my next question. Could there be an air of jealousy so strong that it pushes that to the wedge in relational ties with the family, Bruce? With that, how would you address something like that? If the wedge came from a jealous component, say, one of the ladies in the family maybe she was single too, and she was older, but the younger one got a man now, and she feeling some type of way because she don't have one. Have you in that type of idea, how would that be addressed to where the person can still walk away with the person that they're with? Bruce?
The way I like to do things, because like the brother, the actor, my brother right here with the dreads.
Trey.
Oh, Trey. Trey. Excuse me, Trey.
Excuse me for that. Like he said, or like my interpretation of what he said is that we are an emotional people. We don't have the uncomfortable conversations. I call them uncomfortable love conversations. That means we have an issue, but we need to sit and talk about it if we love each other. And in the midst of that, there's going to be some sharp things said. There's going to be some things that might hurt. But the goal of having an uncomfortable conversation is to deal with truths. And because we have love for each other, we come to what I call what is called the third alternative, where we agree to agree. So, for example, say like with the example that the pastor just gave with her son. If it was possible, and that's a big if, I don't know the details because it's Cece's family. If it was possible to come and sit at the round table and have a real conversation.
Yes.
And at the end of that conversation, there are things like apologies, repentance, making up, acknowledging truths.
Right.
Hey, man, I said some things that was rough, baby girl, but, I'm sorry. I was tripping. Can you forgive me? Hugs, kiss. Let's eat some cake, and it's all good.
Yes.
But again, our people, we've gotten away from those things. And we are such an emotional trauma-based, rejected people, that the moment there's a slight different point of view or one thing said that was like, here come the MF. You understand what I'm saying? As soon as there is a slight conflict, we got about 5 or 6 MFs that we holding back. You know what I'm saying, Charles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
It's true.
then when the sister or the mama say that right word, and we say we born again, we love the Lord, yeah. But here come the MF. Who you think you're talking to? MF, this my life.
Right.
MF, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And here it comes.
Right.
They're all over the place with the emotion. But we as a people, especially us, people who look like us, we have to come to a point where we come back to the table, even if it's on Sundays, at Big Mama's house. You understand what I'm saying? And we have those mediated uncomfortable conversations. If we can't do it ourselves, call Charles Dixon up.
Yeah, call Charles. The love
Charles
doctor.
will give you a couple of hours.
Dr. Love. Get Dr. Love. That's what's up.
Let's call Pastor CC up.
Right. Get somebody
Pastor
that
CC can come over
can
and
mediate
talk
that
with
thing.
us.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's good stuff.
And talk it out.
Yeah.
And it's possible that the love and the bonding could have been made stronger after that, because that's how love relationships grow. You grow through the conflict. You work through the conflict if it's possible. It's possible they could have restored. And the last thing I would say, thank you, Pastor, for allowing me to use your situation. It is, if it was me, and I hate to say ifs, but if it was me with my children, you know, being as though I'm King Kong when it come to mine, I would say I would have had that conversation with her, Pastor. Hey, look, what can we do about getting y'all back together? I'm staying in my lane. I understand my mother pissed you off. Y'all love each other. You know, somebody said some things wrong, but y'all still love each other. I still see it. I still care about you. Is it possible that we can reconcile this thing between y'all two and get y'all moving forward?
And now, you got to remember too, I still have the passive feminine perspective. So I don't teach women to go after men. My conversation with my son was, you need to pray, seek direction from within yourself as to what you can handle in a maturing relationship. He made up his mind that he didn't want to try it again. And he asked me, he said, Mom, if it were you, what would you do? What would you do? And I told him the same thing you just mentioned. I would love to see y'all back together, but I'm not you and I'm not her. I'm not with you 24/7. So there are some things that y'all know about each other that I don't know, and I'll probably never know.
Absolutely.
So as a woman, if I were his father trying to encourage him to get back, I would have said, son, go get your girl. But I'm his mother, so I have a feminine passive perspective, because I don't teach women to go chasing after a man, because that too has been culture shock to us as a people. Women have not been presented properly to their mate through their bloodline families, where there's a roundtable discussion in the introductory level. So it's kind of hard to fix it and unscrew it, for the lack of better terms, because we're being saved tonight. Because it got messed up before they actually had
Charles said we had to be saved tonight, so everybody put on their, everybody.
I got on my holy hat.
Charles
And
said
the thing
right
is,
tonight.
and the thing is, I don't want to get into the habit of teaching unrealistic expectations. I didn't want that young girl to be waiting on my son based on my influence, when that's not how I teach.
Hey, CC, just a quick question. Where your son was at his grandmother's house, was his grandfather also there, or just his grandmother?
Just his grandmother. And I'm going to paint the picture even deeper.
But that's it. I'm making a point.
Because he went there to be a superhero to her situation.
Yeah.
He was here in Florida doing fine.
Yeah.
We had a family emergency. He was the most viable person to go, because that house in Birmingham, that's a 13-room house that's been our family since 1942. Yeah. So he went to salvage some things that were going on with our family. But
Right.
at the same time, my mom has this control thing going, which has been a
Yeah.
family curse, that she wants to manipulate decision making. And I even war against having that personality within myself because my mom is a control freak. Everybody in our whole family knows that, both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And my father, who is married to another woman, has an opinion in his house, but it don't match what's going on in my mama's house. So when you're looking at the dynamic of his influence, he wants to stay there because if he still, this is the thing, if he would have stayed with that young lady would have become his number one. And my mother is then left to deal with my brother on her own without my son in the house to protect her. So he was torn between his
I get it.
blood
Yeah.
grandmother and the love of his life. And
But
Mm.
he
like I
also,
told him, I did tell him, I
What
said, now I'm
point
going
was
to be
Charles
honest
making?
and raw naked with you.
yes,
You need to get out of her house. I don't give a damn what happened to her.
right.
And I
Right.
He
said
chose,
that,
There you
but
go.
Yes.
he chose y'all because he knew knocking down the domino of his grandmother would knock down the domino with you. So he chose the women. It may have hurt him, but he chose it because he felt like with all the influence, the strong influence, and like you said, the quote unquote level of control, he had no way. I mean, he was living with her, so he had to
yeah.
kind of count up the cost and say, you know what, it's probably worth it to just fold and do this. And he probably would
Well,
have
see,
if yeah.
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 Mm.
For me,
Mm.
I was like, let the house go, let granny go get your girl.
Right.
But because he still is physically in that house
Mm.
with some other dynamics going on, he almost feels obligated. And I said, son, you're 33. Live your life.
Mm.
Mm.
You're at the age that Jesus came into the fullness of his being. And that's what I need you to do. So I gave him an ultimatum. I said, you have until December 31st to get out my mama's house
Right.
Mm.
because it's messing up your walk with God and your own lifestyle choices. And you have to live. I lived at 33. Precious, you know me. I was not bound to the opinion of another family member at that age. And he's at that age that he cannot miss his inheritance spiritually and naturally as a man because of the influence of a woman.
Mm.
Wonderful advice. Wonderful advice, Mom.
Mr. Dixon, we're at the
Yes.
top of the hour. Can you go ahead and start steering the car towards the parking lane?
Oh, all right. Hey, Mr. Robert, Mr. Roberts, we're going to start with you. What we're going to do is at this phase, we're just going to let's take the show at this point and let's turn it into everybody's lasting advice to the people in the audience listening as to, give them a good nugget as to how to deal with these family situations like this. And we're going to move on along.
I love the softer approach
Gotcha.
because I believe love will win every time, and I believe in the iron fist with a
Mm.
velvet glove.
Oh, that's
You
awesome.
know,
That's awesome.
as a man, as a father,
Well,
you got to be strong. You have to teach your daughters and your sons what it means to be a man and what it means to be loved by one.
right.
And if you start young and if you continue on, kill them generational curses, kill all that
Yeah.
that
Right.
crazy nonsense
Right.
and stuff, and use love as a barometer, I think we'll
Right.
always be okay.
That's all
Awesome.
right. That's all
Mr.
right.
Trey, Mr. Trey, I think you're muted though.
Yeah.
There you go. All right.
My nugget is this is a phrase I've heard a few times, but unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And so release that weight of the unforgiveness. I would say shame, guilt, and resent are things that weigh heavy on your emotions and your mind and your body. And so let those things go if an opinion of a family member or something like that has affected you in some way, and you're hearing this, take the lead on having one of those round table discussions that we were talking about earlier.
Awesome. Mr. Bruce.
I would say, because people are so crazy nowadays, if you are saying me, I am in no rush. I'm sorry, I gotta keep it a buck, y'all. I am in no rush to interact with your family.
My Lord.
Mm.
Please allow me some time to discern you,
Wow.
to get to know you, and get to appreciate your difference.
Yes.
You run a risk when you are seeing me. You run a risk when you introduce me to your family because you know I'm analytical. You know how we are, Coffee.
Right.
Yes.
November.
Yes.
Right.
We analytical. So as soon as I see your mother, and really quickly, one mistake that women make is when we're in a dating phase. Y'all gonna tell me what you don't like about your mother anyway.
My Lord.
Y'all gonna tell me what problem you got with your father, thinking that I'm not gonna have that same problem. So that when I finally meet them, you understand what I'm saying? Y'all
That's
talk
good
too
stuff
much.
right there. That's
So
good stuff right there.
when I finally meet them,
That's real.
I got this in the back of my mind.
That's so real. That's
So,
very
so
true.
not only am I analyzing, which is really judging them based on what you told me, I'm judging them based on what I'm observing from them. And my philosophy is you are the apple that's coming from that tree. So let me fall in love with the apple first before you bring me around your people, because I might not like you after that.
That's
My
it.
Lord. My Lord.
What's the young lady right here?
That's
Next.
Nicole.
Yes. Well, I would end with make your own decisions. Sometimes those prosper, and sometimes they're going to fail. But some of the most successful people in this world have failed. So.
Cece.
All I gotta say is just what I just shared with somebody else. Let real love win. Our real love for our family members has its place, but as the Bible records, we must leave our father and mother and cling to our, in this case, I'll say spouse. If we experience or encounter real love, let it win. Don't rush it. I agree with Bruce. Don't run people into your family because your family, you ain't with them now. But let real love win, because real love will take you to the heights and depths that you've probably not seen in your own bloodline.
Right.
And it could be an influence to generations to come. Leave it for Abrahamic blessing.
Awesome. P. Coffee, what about you?
I like it.
Let the church say amen, Pastor. That's all I got to say.
Oh my goodness. It's her topic. I tell you.
I love that Valdez.
On a serious note, no, seriously.
All right.
This is, this has really been a very thought-provoking conversation. There's been a lot of thought. You could tell from everyone's share the intensity of thought that comes along with their sharing, not just sharing. And we left the emotion out. We really did. We left the emotion out, and we went into a lot of logic, reasoning, realistic approaches to really help people to deal with this, because somebody out there is trying to determine who is going to win the battle of, like AD said, as far as the iron fist versus the velvet glove. Who's going to really win that battle as far as their ability to be able to walk away with their love and their family intact, to be able to have both. That's the ultimate goal, to be able to have that love and be able to still commune and have that family, that strong, solid family backing. Because it does take a village. It takes a village to exist in a relationship. We never know what's going to happen. We never know what's going to transpire. We never know what's going to happen on the other side of our due. It's just so many things that can transpire in our lives to where we don't know. And another thing that Cece brought up earlier is the building block of the family may not necessarily be the bloodline. It may be individuals who you have come to evolve with, and you have created a family in the environment where you are currently. Because my immediate family, I have no family in Texas outside of my children's family is here, but my family is not here at all. So I literally have no family here, but I've created a family and a bond to where if something goes down, I just got to pick up the phone and somebody will be right here, fortunately. So I think as long as we have those connections in place and the people know their limits, I think you're good. But you have to be able to have that line in the sand where people know not to cross it. Even if they deem it necessary or have some type of opinion, they know there's a certain line of respect that just cannot be crossed.
Right.
So that's important to have that line in the sand with the people in your sphere of influence to say, hey, I understand you have an opinion, a thought, or idea, but there's a time and a place, and there's also this line of respect that just cannot be crossed.
Good stuff. I would say, put it like this: we all have family, and family is important to all of us. But I would say, in some of these situations, let's spare the other person the rushed checklist item of introducing the family.
Mm-hmm.
In some cases, if we're honest, your family is estranged with you. So if they're estranged with you, how much more welcoming will they be to your person? Because they're going to say, if you jacked up, so is your judgment. So they're not going to really receive the person. And so sometimes we need to be fair and stop and really make sure that you really like that person. Maybe it's not time. Maybe they don't need to mess with your family just yet, just because Thanksgiving is around the corner. Okay, let it pass. I'll see you later on that evening. Sometimes you got to be a little unselfish and spare that person the abuse. Because sometimes what happens, you bring somebody in prematurely, they'll feel it because the family is not speaking to them, looking over there, gossiping, being dismissive. And that's like an abusive exchange. It's not welcoming. And now the person is kind of looking at you like, I'm not sure if I want to be in this family. So you got to kind of use some wisdom, take your time, and just kind of get to know the person first. And when you come into the family, bring them in as you're just presenting them and you're pulling them back. Don't just throw them in the middle of the crap shoot and leave them there to the family to sort them out. You bring them, introduce them, leave. But if you give the family that power, they're going to exercise the control of influence. So you have to just kind of introduce them, say, this is my person, we out of here. We about to go eat with Brother Bruce, and we'll see y'all later. And go and
no, we're going to CC House to eat. We're going to CC House to eat.
Like you said, on the good words of CC, we have to, at that point, we have to choose to let love win, let that be your guide, and go from there.
Absolutely. Awesome. That's what's up. This has been incredible, you guys. Thank you so much again for your time. And just coming on tonight. We really appreciate you guys. We know you guys have really, really busy schedules, but we thank you so much for offering up your time and sharing some wisdom and knowledge and dropping some love on the audience tonight. AD, before we shut down, I know you were working on a new project. Mr. Dixon and I were talking about it earlier. We want you to share with our viewing audience what you're doing and how they can get a hold of you if they want to participate in the brilliant mind concept that you have going.
Okay. Well, thank you. I really appreciate tonight has been wonderful. I really appreciate the opportunity to share and all that. You guys are just amazing. All of the panel, everybody's been amazing. The project that I'm working on, I'm really excited about it. It's called the U 2.0, and it is about redefining and reinventing yourself. As a success coach, I deal with people every day. I deal with individuals and I deal with companies, and whether it's personal realignment or corporate realignment, my job is to help you. If there's a picture in your mind of how your life should be and versus where it is today, my job is to marry those two worlds as best I can. Awesome. And the U 2.0, the U 2.0 system is a reinvention system that I've been using for the last 12 years in my own personal practice. As it's dynamic. It's grown over that time frame, but I have seen some really effective shifts in people's lives and in the culture of their businesses. And it's for everybody, because they're just some basic hardcore principles that we have to lean on and glean from to have the life that we picture in our minds. Awesome. And I'm really excited about that project. So how you can get in contact with me, you can reach me on Facebook. It's AD Roberts. You can reach me on Instagram, and that's AD Roberts Now. And my website is adrobertsnow.com. So awesome. That's what I do.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Mr.
Awesome,
Dixon,
yes.
shut us down for tonight, sir. Tell us what you're up to next week, and we'll close out from there, Mr. Dixon. What are you guys up to on Unique Perspective Love Talk Radio?
Next week we will be talking about the topic of the hookup culture, and we're talking about
Oh,
how nowadays what's happening is there is the bait. You know, we're using ourselves as the bait. Then there is the bump for the grown folks. You know what that means. There's the bump. Then there's the bond. That's the new way, the backdoor way to love is happening today. We're not going in the front door no more. It's the let me come to the back door, do all of those things, and then try to discover you later. But let me do the physical part first. That's what's happening. And so as a result of that culture, that's
yeah, that is
it's all out of
definitely,
whack. And like to anybody that's in the
definitely.
New York area this weekend in Brooklyn, Bruce and myself will be on the conference What Women Want, and it's going to be we're going to be doing lectures and panelist shows of that all day there in Brooklyn. It should be pretty interesting if you're in the area. We're going to be posting details on our page, so on and so forth.
Awesome. Awesome.
Awesome.
Exciting. Exciting. Well, you guys, we're going to go ahead and shut that down with that. It's been real. It's been fun, but it ain't been real fun. So I got to go.
All
I'm
right.
hungry. I'm hungry.
All right.
The spirit of hunger is upon me. But you guys, we appreciate you so much, and thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back same bat time, same bat channel next Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we'll see you guys then. Blessings until then. You guys be well. Thanks again.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.